Could you please remain standing? Thank you.
So just firstly this evening, apologies from Laura Chaplin, as it's the chaplaincy conference in Hereford today, and she couldn't send her deputy. But before we have prayer, she has provided a prayer for us this evening, which Councillor Brooks is going to read. But as it said on the agenda, Councillor Morris just wants to say a few words in memory of Councillor Andy Roberts, Gloucester City and County Councillor, who passed away in August.
Thank you, Chancellor. This is on behalf of Bob and myself as county councillors. So Andy Roberts, whilst a Worcester man, city and county councillor, knew about and cared about Droitwich. Testament to Andy was how full the cathedral was for his recent funeral. He was a true gentleman, and he worked for the Hereford and Worcester for 37 years, rising to assistant chief fire officer by his retirement. Talking with his whole team at his funeral, I learned that Andy's role in 1997. Some of you may remember this just a long time ago. I am old, but in 1997 was a horrible end to tragedy, where at around 6:20 in the morning, a lorry entered the M42 from West Lip Road, rammed into the rear of a tanker, which then struck a car and exploded. The ensuing pileup involved 160 vehicles and a 400 yard stretch of motorway, including 30 on the opposite carriageway 20 minutes later. I personally remember this well. I was driving down to London for work, and I was behind a lorry, and the whole Palestine was next to that lorry. So it affected me quite strongly for that memory. Being stuck in the motorway and passing through that. And what I didn't know was Andy's role in that. Andy was the lead fire officer managing that whole scene, that whole activity, which remains with him that he will have his life, and indeed every talks about as a team as well, and him remembering that whole time as what happened. Andy, in his career as councillor, was mayor of Worcester, held a number of cabinet positions, including the children's services. He will have known his efforts helped his service gain good accreditation just before he passed. A fabulous statement considering where the service came from. Andy was not overly political, and when he spoke, a room would go silent. As you knew, he spoke from the heart and with honesty. When I joined cabinet, he was generous and offered me support. Being keen on the environment, he supported Worcester Environmental Group, and he would then guide me. Andy was a member of Droitwich Golf Club, but never made it known to fellow members. Andy was from a very close-knit family, many of whom live in Droitwich, and it is with them our thoughts go. In my mind, there was no doubt Andy was the type of councillor we all wish to be. We're in it to make a difference and fully support residents, which was Andy's hallmark. So, rest in peace, Andy.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we remember before you all those who have departed this world. Today, as we give thanks for the life of Andy Roberts, we ask for your comfort and peace for all those who mourn his passing. We thank you for his example of dedicated service and ask that you will help us to continue to use our gifts and abilities to serve you in our communities. Will you lead us in the ways of righteousness and peace and equip us as we serve? In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Richards and Councillor, Brooks. Sorry. Yeah. Councillor Morris.
Ask people to be seated.
Yeah.
Begin.
Can you all be seated, please? So welcome everybody. Good evening. You all look very nice this evening. Don't know whether you made a special effort. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, item 1 then, apologies.
Yes, Chairman, just councillor Paul Clements.
Okay. Any declarations of interest, please?
I will declare about the Army Covenant, which will come into, and Chairman, Mr. Sharman.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Anyone else? Okay, to confirm as correct the records of the meetings of council held on the 19th of June 2023 at the council chambers, Richard House, attached. Does anyone? Any comments? Yes, Councillor Morris.
Just on, if we're not standing now because of the, so.
No.
Just a comment on full fibre, so thank you very much to the town clerk and team for supporting the public meeting. Many will know it was quite a fun public meeting, but I have to say there's a lot of outcomes come from that meeting, however raucous and difficult it might have seemed. It was the right thing to do, well, let's support our residents and they have issues, so we were right to hold the meeting. But from the meeting, some poles have been moved outside the front of some people's residences. Second surveys have been conducted on some roads, and some wires have been removed. That, if you remember, some people saying the wires were right in front of their windows, so some of those have been removed as well. And between County Council, District Council, the MP's office, and myself, there's been a letter now sent from the Chief Executive of whichever to Ofcom to explain that there needs to be more scrutiny and more understanding of the whole situation. I shared that letter from the Chief Executive Officer with the town clerk, that he's going to send it around so everyone can see this meeting. Thank you.
So just look at the council for a second.
Yeah, could we have a proposal, please? Thank you.
I've got the minutes.
Thank you. And second, please. And all in favour, please. So now to. Yeah, I'm going to stay seated for the mayor's announcement. This indeed has been a busy year and very interesting so far, welcoming all you new members of the council and all, I won't say old ones, that's not nice, is this? I'll get into trouble with that, but all the ones that were there before. It would seem that times they are changing. Bob Dylan, 1964. We have now new challenges ahead, as always. We must keep up with modern approach to our residents, hopefully by being more visible, which is visible being my favourite word, as most of you know. Let's remember and reflect on what has been happening in our great town so far this year. I'm not going to bore you to death. I've got 32 appointments that I've actually attended in the last 4 months, which has taken some toll at times, but we did it. So I'll just mention a few. I thought the important bits were like opening the charter market in Victoria Square. That was nice, wasn't it? And then later a Ledbury coffee morning for the big green week they have there. And then Droitwich Food Festival with Nigel Huddleston and Robert Raphael. That was very interesting and really good success. We also had the Hamry Countryside Show, where the first time a British mayor had ever been invited, which I was very proud of. And then we had the more than 3 counties Shire Gala. Not too many more now. And then we did the Battle of the Region with Robert Raphael, and the Salt Fest with dignitaries, lieutenants of Worcester and Nigel Huddleston and Richard Morris, our very own. And that was a really good Salt Fest this year, packed in fact. And then we had the West Midlands Mayoral Weekend, picnic in the park at the Lido stand, which we had a lot of feedback on, which was very positive. So that's, again, was something we would be proud of. German twinning, raising the flag to celebrate 40 years with Bad Ems, with the chair, which was Amy, who was of the association. And then last but not least was the bands in the park. I did nearly join in with that with a little triangle, just to finish off, but they wouldn't let me. So that was it really. There are a lot more, but as I said, I'll save your ears this evening. And as I say, it's been a very, very nice 4 months so far. And thank you to all of you for your continued support. Okay. Right. Good.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for representing our council so well, and I'd like to say a thank you to our officers as well for putting on the Midlands Mayor's Weekend. I think that was a great show in the Lido Park. Great opportunity for many of our residents to get involved. It was great seeing some of the dance classes that were going on, so many of the crowd getting involved there.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Duffy. I did say Georgia do have those. Okay. Right, we're just proposing this at the moment for your information. It'll be the Mayor's, we've put it down as the Mayor's Choice Annual Awards, but we're thinking of calling it the Mayor's Community Annual Awards. And this is down to discussion at the moment. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. Wanted to give a bit of background on why Councillor Fellows and I were quite keen to put something forward to help celebrate a lot of the community individuals of Droitwich who put so much into the town and find new ways to celebrate those members of our town that put so much effort in. I think our motion having changed a little bit over the last week, we're proposing to bring it to our Communities and Amenities Committee to figure the wider details. And as our Mayor, Councillor Fellows said, to change it from the Mayor's Choice to the Mayor's Community Award. To make sure it fully resembles the aim of it, to celebrate those members of our community.
Thank you.
I'd be quite happy to propose this.
Thank you. Could we have a second on that one, please? Thank you. And all in favour? Thank you very much. Right, so on to the police reports. Which I'll hand over to you.
So the policing report, apologies from Sergeant Catherine Atkinson. They do have a police conference as well today. This is the clergy one. And unfortunately she hasn't got a deputy to send because of that reason. So I did circulate the report which she prepared last week. If any members have got questions or points want to raise, if they could do that with me or direct Catherine, no problem, and take any points forward. So that was part A, and then part B on the agenda was just to confirm the annual police commissioner survey. So I had 12 responses from members. We sent that out, I think we sent it in June, but the cut-off is August. So I collated those responses, and the summary that you've got with the pack is the corporate response on behalf of the town council. So that is done until the next survey, which will be next June, July. So as long as nobody's got any questions.
Yeah, sorry, has anyone got any questions on that, please? Yes.
Yes, I'm going to appreciate getting a planning on the contact details of Catherine Atkinson. Because I know that she's starting, but I don't know. It's better if you can get immediate direct contact rather than having to go through the channels.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll note that for you. Thank you. Right. Yeah. So can we have an update now from the gentleman at the back, please, for the high school, and don't be nervous. That's easy for me to say.
Start by saying thank you for the opportunity to come speak to all about what's going on at sixth form. Obviously, the last time I spoke, all these spoke, obviously, me today before the summer, so I just want to hope you all have a fantastic summer. So speaking of the summer, actually, over the course of it, we had a little makeover for our front gym at high school with a CrossFit ball and providing some new gym equipment, which will encourage the younger people in our school to get fit pretty much. Obviously, it's beginning the start of the academic year, so the year 8 hopefully settling into with our high school life, and our year 12 settling into the high school life. So we want to help the year 12 by organising a little bit of Q&A where we get people from each subject to speak in front of us, and they would ask questions about their subjects and experiences. We would, as year 13 would have much appreciated this from the previous year 13, as we did struggle a bit with setting in sixth form life, as it's quite a big jump, if that makes sense, from the high school life. And we also wanted to, a big part of everyone joining our sixth form committee was break the barrier between the two different year groups. As last year, the year 12, year 13, we didn't really speak, if that makes sense. So we wanted to break that early so everyone can like get on. And to further emphasize this, in the next couple of weeks, we are organising a football tournament between the year 12 and year 13 with the different teams mixed between the both of them. And we did emphasise as well that it doesn't matter if you can't play football, we just wanted everyone to take part. For example, I can't play football and I'm still playing. So that's all that. And well, it's our charities week. I'm pretty sure someone has already previously explained what charities week and how it works. So at the moment we haven't got our international or national charity shows yet. However, we do have our local charity, which is the food bank, our local food bank. They reached out to us and we were more than happy to help. Over the course of the 5 lunch times, we are having 5 different, obviously, teacher-related events. We're having teachers got talent on day 1, pretty much. Great talent. What I've heard as well, the teachers are pretty interesting talents. So I'm pretty intrigued to see how that works. On the Tuesday, we're having skill up with guts with the students. We wanted the lower school as well to take part this year. So we're getting them to ask questions. So we're getting them to send in the questions as well. So we wanted to know the questions first, otherwise it would be like we wanted to accept them, make them as appropriate as possible. And then Wednesday is our music video, Thursday is our leg waxing, head shaving, and Friday is our annual lip sync battle between the different teachers. Amy and Harriet last year did a fantastic job of raising money for charity. They raised around £6,000, which was the most our high school ever raised before for our charities. This year we want to take that a bit further. We don't want 7,000, we don't want 8,000. We're hoping for a massive £10,000 a week to raise for our chosen charities. A few of us as well, we work at local retailers, so we'll be hanging up posters around different stores. So hopefully everyone can donate that's walking by. We're also going to be donating having GoFundMe pages of people who are shaving their heads, because our year 13 who are doing it, they have different experiences with their chosen charities. So we want to give them the opportunity as well to raise money for their own charities. And again, that's all I have to say, but I wanted to emphasize as well. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak in front of you.
Well, I think we would thank you for doing it for us. I think that. Very much. That was very well said, and what a lot you're doing. Thank you for that. That's great. It's a lovely thing when youth get involved in things, isn't it? Do you really enjoy that?
Yeah, I love it. It's why I came. Why I ran for the head student.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can do that next year.
Yeah. Well, I think you'll go places, young man. Thank you very much indeed. I've enjoyed that. I think everybody else did as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, can I just pass the books now, please?
Thank you. On the next item, I did just want to mention it's a non-pecuniary invest, but I've supported the site with visual funds and I'm also going to the skiing. So I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chairman, the next item was Youth Council. I think we're still awaiting their
Yeah, I'm
Next
due a
update.
meeting with them Wednesday, so
Yeah.
hopefully safe into it.
Okay, thank you, councillor Morris. And can we go on to number 9 now, for subs, please? And can I introduce Bill and Lee, please?
Evening, everybody, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bill Moy, for those that don't know me. I'm sure most of you do. I am the chairman of SOBS, have been for 15 years, and we've plodded along for all that time. We seem to be reaching a position now where there's a huge possibility that we may get a blind bats back into Droitwich Star. And for that reason, fingers crossed with me, for that reason, we put this PowerPoint together. So for those that don't understand what our PowerPoint represents in terms of costs and availabilities and plans and so on and so forth, it's to educate you all, if I may use that term. I have with me Lee, who's our business manager. She's been with us for many years now, and she's absolutely brilliant. And I'll hand over to Lee. Lee, and ask you if you do the presentation.
Okay.
At the end of the presentation, happy to take questions. Thank you all. Thanks for inviting us.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, good afternoon, everybody, or good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Because we've only got a few minutes just to give you a brief update, we have focused in on a question we get asked a lot, as in, are new Brine bars going to be viable, or are they going to be a money pit? So I'm going to whiz through this. Okay, we're going to have to do it that way. Bill's introduced us. We're going to talk about the opportunity. We're going to talk a little bit about the business case. We're going to talk a little bit about the existing intellectual property that SOBS bring to the table that directly can benefit here. And then, if there's time, some questions. First of all, SOBS are a community interest company. Our directors are, you can see the names there, plus Bob, as declared, is on our steering group. We are not for profit and limited. Okay. What have we been doing in the last 17 years? It's interesting. Campaigning for the restoration. We're on social media. I know. I appreciate those people that are on social media. Thank you for sharing some of our stuff. We've been a bit quiet recently. I think we all know why on that one. We do have a new website. Thank you again to Bob. We had a grant to do that. So we're all up to date and lovely and shiny. And we completed the Brine Memories project with Heritage Lottery Fund money. If you take a look through in into the museum bit, there's an audio post where you can hear some memories. We could talk for a good hour just on that, but know that it's there. And if you want any more information, we're here still. So there's been 3 potential opportunities to put the bars back. The Lido site, it was the fact that the Outline Planning Commission didn't have a single dissenting voice when it was put to committee, speaks to the will, I think, of the town. They want their Brine bars back. However, very expensive, as was presented then. Then there was an opportunity from the managing director of BMI before us. It's certainly not the current one, as far as we know, to refurbish the last bars. Now, that obviously is an awful lot easier to do because that hall is still there. That structure is still there, which is hugely frustrating. It needs a few tiles, but the thing is still there, and it needs new plants, but it would need plants anyway, because we need to get the state-of-the-art plants in. So we did a business case on that, all the figures, all the numbers, put it to the PropCo, the owning company of BMI, and I think it's changed hands again, hasn't it? It's now called Circle, if you look, but we never heard a thing back. And that wasn't, you know, that was in partnership with their management, so it looked like a really good opportunity that we had to go after. And then we had the opportunity of the Raven site over the road. Now, the planning permission for that has celebrated its first birthday on the 21st of July. We know, it's just still very quiet. We have supported this by attending the planning meeting and speaking in favour. There was a requirement for an engineer's report to state, to be clear that putting brine bars in that historic building wouldn't eat it alive, basically, which was an objection raised. We did that, that was turned around within a month, and the information given back into Wychavon District Council. Ongoing viability costings we've got, I'm going to share some numbers in just a minute. And as part of doing these numbers, we've worked on them with the people that actually know. So we've sat down with Jane Pickering, who's the Deputy Director, is that the
She's deputy chief
Chief Exec of Wychavon. And we talked to Tim Kirkham before he retired from the leisure centre. So the numbers that we're going to share with you, they have been checked as being realistic. My background is in the corporate world, and I've seen some business cases where it's been this, and there is absolutely no point at all trying to build something unless you have got really good grounds for believing that this will actually work. So we have put homework into this. Okay, let's look at the opportunity. Because we've only got a little bit of time here, I kind of condensed. If you'd like to sit down with us, talk through all these figures, please just get in touch. We'll happily talk your ear off for hours, I promise. But looking at operating costs, those have been reality checked, as I say. But the bottom line, if we run a brine bars for 12 hours a day with 20 people capacity per hour, then the opportunity on floats only is just short of 500,000 a year. If you then add in a therapist, and this is only just one, obviously, if we added another one, we'd get the same amount again. Ditto with the physio. Physios, interesting, I found this interesting. Physios get paid more, okay? They probably go to college longer, I don't know, but they generate pretty much about the same in income. So there's not quite so much of an opportunity on that. And then hospitality, be really quite, you know, conservative with this in terms of, we think if we have half of the customers spending £7.50, that's the level of income. So for a year, we reckon the opportunity is £1 million plus. And that's without doing any, you know, rent it out for a day to the Blues or whatever. In 1923, we had Chelsea come up in the cards here. So we might, you know, there's so much opportunity out there. The one thing I will say is in 1857, when John Corbett was really revitalising the town, he brought in 6,000, more than 6,000 extra visitors a year. Now, what's that going to do for our town that's currently fading away, really? We've just lost another shop. We all know this. So this is why we think this, you know, there's a real opportunity here. The build costs, this assumes that build costs have been met. We do know what state of the art plans would cost. One of the reasons that the last part failed was that they tried to use ordinary swimming pool plant for brine, and it didn't work. The brine ate it. You cannot have aluminium air conditioning. We have to have a special plastic bag. Bob is expert on this, and he knows also.
Not too much.
But again, there's the John Corbett figures. I think we really can put the spa back into Droitwich Spa. So the Lido site, that outline planning permission was granted in May 2018. Not a single dissenting voice. I said that earlier, and I think that really tells us how much we all want this plan. Our Brine engineer, this is Charles Bretnell, and he is a top-notch. We can show you his CV, we can show you the details of the report that he's done. This is the intellectual property that we are willing to give to whoever's going to build the brine baths, please. But this would be the air conditioning, if anything does come over the road at the Raven, to make sure that the brine doesn't escape from the pool hall and the timbers. Although if you actually go in the back of the museum over there, there's several thousand-year-old timbers that were used as brine barrels. So, you know, we also have, this is more air conditioning. I'm not going to go through all of these. Let's just go to the bottom line figure again. I've taken 10 minutes, which is what I promised. Thoughts?
What about going to the press? Could we not go to the press and make a big song and dance about it and see if anybody out there with a lot of money will help? I don't know.
We could do that, or we could go for commercial backing.
Yeah.
We are talking to the Place Board, Witch Haven District's Place Board. So with any luck, there'll be an opportunity that comes out of there. We feel it looks like, well, you've had 3 goes at this, so what's going on? But the issue has been not really of any of our making. One of the things with the refurbish the bars back there was that business case went in sort of 2 weeks before COVID struck. But then the PropCo still didn't want to know. And then there was a better opportunity each time. Sorry, George.
Oh, no, I was going to wait till you finished.
No, you better stop me.
I wanted to start by really praising the resilience your group's had. Sort of, as you said, there's been challenges to each of them. It's not an easy venture in the easiest of times, but it's I think trying to use the assets that we've already got in the town, like the Raven and the Lido, and like the old building, it is great adding that value to the resources we've already got. But the resilience I think the group has shown in, even when there's been things that haven't been or results that haven't been exactly what we wanted, carried on, found new ways to go about doing it. I've always really loved the design for the building at the Lido. I think that builds on a great asset that we've got down there already. I think the numbers are really exciting. I think the fact that it would still be able to maintain itself on a third of its capacity is a really, again, resilient opportunity. I think the fact they wouldn't need to run it. Obviously, we'd always want to see it absolutely rammed as we do with the Lido, and as the Lido has shown itself often to be maximum capacity, but even at a third of its capacity, it would still be able to support itself. So that'd be excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, going back to your figures, the chart with the 12 hours opening, and how much were you thinking for people for that?
Tenner.
They pay, each of those people would pay £10 for the hour,
That is what it's been costing at, yes,
Right.
£10.
and the £7.50 was sort of the extras they want to pay, what were you looking at?
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be, we'd hope they'd buy coffee and a bun and that would come in at about £7.50, so.
Right, so in fact, so who would be actually sat in this? How would it actually be organised in terms of staffing for 12 hours a day? For what?
It is, but what we did was we based the staffing figures on the experience in Wales behind us in the hospital. So it's basically the same number of people as was operating there. We've spoken to several people who actually work there. So it's realistic. We verified the staffing levels with Tim, with all of his expertise, Tim Kirkham from the leisure centre. So I know sometimes it can be difficult to find staff in today's world. However, we have got a list of people that says, when you get the Brine pass back, can I come and work there, please? So I don't think we'd struggle.
So what size of pool is it we're looking at? Yeah, is that what, is that?
Can you see that one? Oh, come on, you catch up. There we are. This is the one, and a lot of the figures that Charles did for us was based on the Raven size. So here, you can get 10 people in that, but you can only stay in Brine for 20 minutes because it lowers the blood pressure. That's why, have you seen the Dirty Great Big Egg Timer thing out there? That's not dinosaur rates, that's how long you can stay in the Brine bars. So we said 20 people per hour on a turnaround. It would be a time ticket, like the Lido runs.
So you pay £10 and then you have 20 minutes,
Yeah,
and then you come out and have another 20 minutes. Eventually, how does that work?
if
It'll
it,
shrivel you up, Alex.
Sorry?
It'll shrivel you up.
I know, so are you paying no, you talk about paying £10 for the hour, but you're paying £10 for 20 minutes,
you are
Yeah.
basically, yeah.
and the whole experience, but there's a spa down in Reading called Nirvana Spa.
Mm.
Their original float pool was built by the guy based on his experience in that pool behind us there.
Mm.
So he's taken that idea, and in his float pool, that is something like, I think I paid £45 for that float experience. And you get, with that, you got some mud put in your hair and a fluffy towel, so there's stuff that we can build around it. There's that opportunity there. And if you have a look at his accounts, he's now got 2 brine pools. He's got one that is dedicated to physiotherapy. That's quite a bit bigger than that one, and the original one. And if you look at his accounts, his profit margins are very respectable. Yes, he's got more of a whole big spa there, but he started small. If we can start small with 1 pool and then just build on this, we can really take off, because if we bring the money in, then you know what happens to the
Lee, you're almost talking about the Ravens that it's in the past. It sounds like you've got something else, you know, adding another pool. Have you got something else in mind?
We don't know for definite that the Raven is in the past, but we just haven't heard anything just by asking. And it's over a year since planning permission. We do have the original picture of build onto the Lido site. And we know there are some conversations going on about the Lido. So, but we don't have anything concrete, unfortunately, no.
I think it would be safe to say that the presentation of these given you this evening could be tailored to suit any location. Be it
Yeah.
the Lido, the Raven, back at BMI. Given that it's just been taken over by another plot code called Circle, I believe it is.
Yeah, I think they're
So-
based in Abu Dhabi.
We can use this plan pretty much anyway. Councillor Morris.
Thank you. I just want to echo George really by saying well done to Sols, because without your endeavours, without your efforts, I'm sure that you've done it into the abyss and you've kept the heartbeats of the Brine Bass alive. So I think the town appreciates that, because we all do want the Brine Bass back. There's no doubt. I think most people want it back. It is potentially the jewel of our tourism. So we need it. I am an optimist and I believe the time will come. I just can't say when, but I'm sure the time will come.
Well, I'm 77 now. It's better be quick.
You could
Madam
get plenty
Mayor,
of
sorry.
brine, you could get plenty of brine in that, couldn't you, to relax you, Bill?
Oh, yeah.
You know, take the strain off our faces, it'd be lovely. But I would like to echo what George and councillor Duffy and councillor Morris said, that thank you very much for being persistent, and God, if we can have a celebration if this comes out. Oh, heck yeah, big one. Or when, should we say when? Let's say when, yeah.
Madam Mayor, I believe there was another
Oh, I
question.
beg your pardon, yes. sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Councillor Della.
Yeah, this is the first time I've heard this presentation from you guys. The costings in which you listed,
Yes.
are they defined on a certain location? Would they change per location? So would the Lido cost more to operate?
They're basically interchangeable. If you just work at the staffing levels, so we know that, basically it's, we get a call around about the size of the last one. We know what that took to start and run. And it's just wherever we put the pool, put the brine in it, those figures won't change.
So the operating cost wouldn't change regardless if it's built in the Lido as opposed to the Raven?
Not that, I'm not going to say not a penny, but there's likely to be a little fluctuation, yes, but I don't think significantly, no.
And how long do you think it will take to get to full capacity, the running operation in terms of the 20 people you said, or how many it was per hour? How long do you expect it to run at that capacity, and how quickly would you get up money?
Do you mean to
In terms
get
of- yeah, in terms
to
of-
attract
yeah, in
people?
terms of-
Sorry, I'm not clear.
Do you
I
expect
think-
day one to hit this the numbers that you're anticipating?
I think if we open the doors on new brine baths, we'd be booked out for a month at least. Just from the amount of people that want to come.
I think that the town council would do their best to promote it as well.
Perhaps I might just mention, because obviously there's an interest in the numbers that involved, how unfortunately some words against the Brine engineer they've got. And he is one of the most thorough engineers I've ever met in my engineering career. And if I may give you a very quick example of how thorough his work and his calculations are. First of all, by the way, there's 2 heat pumps and whatever everything in the design, so it's all right up to date. But I've never heard of people who do one formula. And I had to look it up, and it's a formula for calculating the surface area of the human body. So part of the detailed calculation done by the Brine engineer includes the layer of water that is on the person when they get out of baths. So they assume the surface area of the human body with a thickness of about 1 millimetre. And the calculator is actually allowed for the loss of that much salt water each time something gets out of bars, and obviously then it's going to be reheated and re-added. So I mean, that is the detail, the absolutely amazing detail. As Lee said, it certainly could be shared if it was interesting. But I just wanted to reassure you that the facts you're hearing are facts, and they're verifiable.
I'd just like to ask, has anybody apart from me actually been in the original Brine Bath? The original one.
1967, the one at the back here.
Ladies, don't shave your legs up for you. No.
I think I stayed more than 20 minutes.
You might have done, but
Yeah.
I don't know, medical. Sorry, yeah, but I think, and the other thing is for me personally, I think it would be fantastic for tourism. Absolutely,
Yeah.
I mean, people, I think, will travel in for this. And it can be added on to, you know, any of the brochures that are out there. So I think it's basically quite got good potential.
Well, Madam Mayor. Sorry, councillor.
I was going to offer one final thought, off the back of what councillor Sinton said around the experience in the brine baths, in the actual pool being 20 minutes, because I also wanted to really commend the focus on the leisure side of it, and on that experience that really brings people back into the town after they've had a great experience. Unfortunately, I've never experienced a brine bath. I think I've missed the opportunity by a couple of years. But the thing that I'd heard a few people say about the old brine baths was that it was a bit clinical at times. So I'm really happy to see that kind of focus on the overall brine experience is throughout. And especially building on the sort of expected spend of about £7.50 on the leisure offering, and giving people as much for that £10 as possible. Had you thought about offering table reservations in whatever sort of eatery or restaurants sort of on site as part of that booking as well? So that sort of
Yes.
how about you sort of force them into spending as well?
Yeah.
All angles covered, George.
Perfect.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I'd like to thank you all for listening to us this evening. A lot of you have heard of this story before, some of you have not. But what I would say to you is, and before I do, thankfully, I've told you she was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
You know what I was going to say then. Yeah, so what I would say to you all is, please digest what you've heard and seen this evening. Please help us out as a town council, district council, county council. We need all the help we can get. And if it comes from this hub, the centre of town, it's going to be very, very important. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, both. Right, number 10, we're going down to the Armed Forces Covenants. Can I pass that to Mark, please?
Yes, Chairman. So really, for members, it's as presented on the agenda. I think Councillor Morris just wanted to say a few words on the draft that was circulated with the papers. Members are happy with that. I'll ask the Mayor and Councillor Morris to sign the original document once that's resolved. And then this evening, if members would like to, there is a corporate pledge on the easel there, so we would ask people to sign if they're comfortable this evening, and then that will be framed. Just to update on what's covered on the agenda here, it does say that a representative from the MOD, senior representative, will come to the next meeting. They will actually come to the January meeting. There's nobody available with the closeness to Christmas. But they're very sorry about that, but they are arranging senior captain to come and do a countersigning signature of our full council, which I believe is the 23rd, I think, of January. But it will be good if all members are comfortable and accept that this evening by signature.
Thank you, Mark. And I'd just like to praise Mark for his efforts and what he's done with the Army Forces Covenant officer at the county to bring this forward. I believe we will be the first parish council, effectively town council, to sign the Armed Forces Covenant. Why is it important? It's important that we do respect our armed forces and recognise the sacrifice and efforts that they have given towards the country. I know there's a myriad of veterans, some who suffered great travesty and service, others who are supporting them in other ways. But in terms of anybody who's been in the armed forces getting back into civilian life and trying to get into jobs and trying to earn a living for their family, that can be an incredibly difficult journey, particularly for those that have given great sacrifice. I've heard of stories in Droitwich for people with chronic PTSD that have seen bodies burnt in Afghanistan and in Iraq. And that trauma has devastated them to such an effect that anything that happens outside their home and noise, they believe it triggers back the memories for whether they were in Afghanistan or in Iraq. And that's not just one person, that is quite a number of people. We have a high population of veterans within Droitwich. And the Army Enforcement Covenant doesn't just recognise the veteran, it recognises the family as well. And very often they get missed in the story. Yeah, there is a lot of support for veterans, it could be better, but there's a lot of support. But for the families, they're sometimes lost. They sit in the fog and the distance of what's happened to their partner. And yet they suffer every bit the difficulty that their partner has suffered, even more so in many respects, because they get it from the partner and they have to try and manage and support them. There's lots of support out there. You know, we work with part of the covenant responsibility is working with all partners to try and put a jigsaw of support together for each veteran and help them in their journey. But we need more businesses, more councils, more service areas to sign up to the covenant to show their support, to recognise what they've been through. It doesn't mean, I must stress, jumping in the queue or getting any preferential treatment. It is just an education of understanding what they have been through, which is quite different to many other people in everyday life, and putting the right support in place to help them. So I thank the Town Council for signing the covenant, and I would urge you all to please put your pledge there to the covenant by signing the sheet that's on the side of the room. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Councillor Brooks.
Thank you. I'd just like to support Councillor Morris. This from partly from some personal experience. My son was in Iraq, and my older daughter did 2 tours of Afghanistan. So as a family, we're very much aware of the stresses and problems. And just to illustrate the point, my son is a GP with a practice in the Yorkshire Dales, and he actually found that people were coming to join his practice because they were ex-service and wanted to go to someone who would understand the special needs and difficulties that they encountered. So yeah, I'm very pleased to support this and thank Councillor Morris for bringing it forward.
So, Chairman, with that, we have an original proposal, which was minute preference 76 from June. So this is for the adoption. So we need to second it and then all in favour to adopt and sign this evening.
Okay. So can we have?
Second.
I'm quite happy to second.
He was already up there. A second, thank you, Councillor Duffy, and all in favour, please. Thank you.
So,
Madam Mayor, if I may, before we get on to the next item, may we take our leave?
Shall we? Shall we let them go? Thank you so much. Very much indeed. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
No, it can't go that way. No, it can't go that way.
This way, then.
It will go another way.
Yeah, it's been locked now.
Shows what I know.
Actually volunteered.
do it now if you want.
That's been identified.
Do we do that one, please?
That's what I'm
Got a choice.
sure.
The list is in alphabetical order. The signatures.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Brilliant. Mark, you want to do it at the end of the meeting?
Sorry.
You want to all do it now, or do you want to do it at the end of the meeting?
I'll leave that with all of you, really, as you wish.
It's fine, I was just thinking of the meeting and that we can.
Yeah.
Do it now, that's fine. I think as well, Mark, if what you're saying, what I did was that we get this, into rain, right, yeah,
Right.
and then maybe put up in here, along with this.
With a finished one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We'll do it, at the end of the thing.
Okay.
Rather than.
Sorry, unfortunately. She's a advocate. Good to send out with coffee sense.
So we do the remainder at the end. So, okay.
So, thank you for that, those who have done and will do, thank you. So, can we move on now to number 11, please, the annual health and safety review, and can we take that as read? Does everybody read it?
Agreed.
Yes,
Yeah.
Councillor Hopkins.
Since the meeting.
Yeah.
Island.
Yes, it does say on there that the matters are in hand, had a meeting, and I've got a date in the diary where they can to do some additional work. Now I've interpreted it again.
Okay. Take that as read. And then we have number 12, the annual review, excuse me, of a risk, oh.
As risk.
Oh, is that okay? The annual review of a risk to receive the annual risk assessment of all town council business and operations. And that's,
Thank you, Chairman. So that one is circulated as well. It's quite a lengthy document for the new members. Basically, it's a risk assessment of everything the town council does in terms of business and operations. So it's updated every year. But if there's any questions, I can take them now or at a later stage.
do we take that as done then? Yeah. Okay, so number 13, annual review of NAC recommended financial regulations and standing orders.
Thank you, Chairman. So again, this is a statutory, has to go to full council. So anything on the AGAR, so the annual return to the external auditor, has to be covered by full council. So we are limited really September, December, or January to review these. So it tends to be the same meeting each year. The council adopted these in 2021 as they're presented. So if there are questions, I can take them all at a later stage. They are on the website as well. They are the now recommended ones.
So do we have any questions at all on that one? No? Okay, thank you very much. Right, 14, we have the neighbourhood development plan and the project report. Can I hand that over to councillor Ross, please?
Thank you very much. Basically, the report is as summarised on the agenda sheet, and obviously the minutes and so on from the steering group, which again have been circulated and made available. But the bottom line summary, I'm very pleased to say that the project is on course for completion, and also it's on course fiscally within the financial arrangements that were agreed, and everything is, I'm glad to say, is going very well. In fact, I think all residents will shortly receive a letter inviting them to give their opinions on the town too, so that so we are widening that now to the involvement of the whole of the town.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah,
Councillor
so I
Hopkins,
was pleased to read that the group has a cost-effective and well-balanced financial approach now. Plan to the project. There's one thing, of course, missing, and I'm sure councillor Brooks as well know what I'm going to say. We're missing a financial forecast. Basically, all projects that I've been involved in, and I've been involved in a lot, as you can imagine, as a chartered accountant. They have this, and what the position is now, something like nearly 15 months into this version of the project. We do not have a statement which includes not only the cost incurred to date, but also the cost to complete. And I think that is a very valuable thing, that people who are filling in questionnaires know exactly how much money, how much taxpayers' money is being spent on the project.
I think you'll find that most of the financial information is actually within the various needs and so forth.
But you haven't gone forward from now, as I see, you put costs that have been incurred or are currently being incurred, but you haven't got the future laid out, and it would be very useful to know whether you're going to be at 25,000 or whatever the figure turns out to be. It certainly won't be 100,000, which I'm sure we're all pleased about. But I think it's something that we need to have as a measure of control. Not that we're going to look at everything we do, but that we have a measure of control and we know what is to come, such as the review before the inspector comes in, which I believe is, according to Whichaven, would cost us something like that in 2020, £2,000 to £3,000. It will probably be more than that, and it would be quite useful to have these sort of figures into the programme. Particularly as we're going into the budgets and forecast stage, these costs are going to have to be included in that somewhere, and I think it would be appropriate to record those costs as project costs. And that what I'm going to say.
Thank you for that. In fact, we do have a lot of forecast information you would expect reasonably, and we were also very pleased to say that we got the additional grant this year, thanks to Town Park and the work put in on that one. If you wanted to, something like that.
Yes, Councillor Brooks, I can just add we're confident that the professional fees for the whole project will be met by the grant funding. It's restricted for that, for the main part. So the forecast from the projection from the procurement that we did in July 2022, I think David's costs were around 16.5. We're eligible for 18,000 from locality. We've had 10, which is a maximum for this year. We don't see any problems of not delivering that within budget for the whole delivery of the project. And we have managed to get funded some additional costs, which they are detailed in the paperwork there. One is the big consultation, and the other is the printing of the flyers, 15,000 flyers, that's 1,300. So our costs at the moment are literally just officer time, really. There will be a few additional costs, and I've noted your comments, Councillor Hopkins, for that. And the other thing I will add is that we are doing a full interim review, 6-month stage of income and expenditure, and that's at resources on it's the October meeting, I think it's the 9th of October, which will include the cost centre enablement plan.
Hopefully I'll see you.
Yeah, well, I think it's just something that I have to say, because I didn't do the job, but many years that I did in very small and very large companies.
Going to show you going in the right way.
thank you very much, Councillor Hopkins. Anyone else want to make any comments on that, please? No? Okay, thank you very much. So we move on to item 15. The committee meetings.
So these, Chairman, they can be taken on block. Members are happy. All of them have been circulated. The last two last week in draft. Yes.
Okay. Everybody happy with that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Propose a second.
Proposal, please. Thank you. And a second, please. Thank you very much.
And all in favour?
And all in favour? Thank you so much. I will get angry with one of the days. I'll do my best. Okay, number 16, high school cabin.
Thank you, Chairman. So this one was just to the date, really. The high school cabin is a really successful asset. Really welcome with the high school campus. It is used well by the high school. It's just to highlight that there is an issue whereby we need more community use and engagement with that facility. There's two reasons for that. Firstly, the criteria for community legacy funding, which the town council was the statutory body for through Whichaven originally in 2018-19, qualified that it has to have community use and regular community use. And secondly, part of the application that I did with the high school involved a public consultation as to that aspect as well. So those two points do need to be regularly fulfilled and revisited. We do have a management committee with two members, which is Councillor Brook and Councillor Hopkins. So unfortunately, that use is not regular. So I did arrange a meeting in April with John Brook, the new head, and there has been a lot of interruption with the high school. They've had the new head, they've had 2 years of COVID, which coincided with completion and opening of the resource. But it is an important factor that we do need to take forward. So at present, I have recontacted my colleague David at Whichaven District Council, David Manning. He's the funding manager for the district, to see if we can rearrange the meeting with the head, just to see if we get this further up the agenda for them to really to market the facility in the local community, and then that would fulfil that commitment. Yeah.
Councillor Morris, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't know whether it's been considered, but the high school has quite a lot of their assets that you can book now. So the running track, there's sports hall, the theatre, they're all listed that the community can use and book. So I don't know whether the cabin should fall into that one.
Yeah.
It may not be for the specific uses that we envisaged, but it may still be community use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Councillor Morris. Anyone else? No, thank you. Move on to number 17, please, which is the Droitwich Spa Rail Station.
This was a motion proposal from Councillor Humphreys, and I think Councillor Sinton also wants to speak on this one.
Which would like to go first? Councillor Humphreys,
No.
would you like to say a few words on that, please?
It's just to say that I have discussed the changes with Councillor Sinton, and I'm very happy with those. If anything, it kind of strengthens the motion, not detracts from it. So I'm very pleased with that. Thank you for your help with that, Councillor Sinton. Just to say a couple of things in support of the motion, and then I'll ask if you can read that out for me. Yes, please. This is something that's a great concern to me personally, and for the organisation that I work for, which is RNIB, the Cycles Charity. We've been doing a lot of work as a charity to try and stop this. And I'll tell you my personal story to go with this. I travel regularly for work on the train, not as much as I probably did pre-COVID, but it's going back to those levels now. And I'm quite a confident long cane user. I used to teach it, so you'd think I'd be quite good at it myself. I'm quite good at getting around, and as you know, I'm not frightened to say something. But when I'm travelling to a strange station that I don't know, maybe having to change trains, make a quick connection, etc., that is really difficult. And I rely on the help and support that the passenger assistance service provides. Now, unless they know I'm on the train and where I am on the train, there'll be nobody to meet me at the station. So if I'm travelling to a new station, having to change trains, get onto another train, without any assistance. It's possible, you can often find a helpful member of the public to help you, but it's much more stressful, it's much more difficult, and it makes a simple journey much more complicated. I already have to give notice about 24 hours in advance before I travel, so you can't just turn up and travel and guarantee that assistance. Without any staff at Droitwich Station, it would mean that I'm limited to journeys that I know well, or if possible, to have someone travel with me, or just hope and keep my fingers crossed that there's someone at the other end who will help me on with my change onto the connection. That really isn't good enough, because I rely on public transport. There's no reliable other public transport system here. The buses are okay, we just need more of them, and we need some in the evenings as well, and a more regular timetable. But there's no direct bus into Birmingham anymore. So my only form of transport really is the train. And me and my husband bought a house 5 minutes from the train station because we use it a lot. So if that becomes less stressful, less accessible to me, other disabled people, elderly people, people who don't regularly travel, basically you've just taken away our independence, which I have to say is really something that I'm passionate about and have fought all my life to keep. The other thing to point out, and if we raise this in the motion, is that all the other facilities, if the station isn't open, all of the other facilities there would close. We've already lost the cafe on the station. We would not have access to a safe, covered seating area, as their waiting room is part of the ticket office, and there would be no access to toilets, because the station toilets aren't accessed by the radar key for accessible toilets. The key is held at the station. So all of those things would go. So I'll hand over to Councillor Sinton if I can to read the amended motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Just say first of all, can I thank Councillor Mrs Humphries for raising this. It's a very important issue. She and I both use trains probably as much as anybody in this room, and I've got great sympathy with everything you said. I also thank Richard Morris, Councillor Morris, for supplying what the Whitchaven Worcestershire both actually said. This isn't completely different, very different from what was originally put forward. I just felt reading what was put forward originally was we weren't actually asking the town clerk or anybody to do anything, and I felt that we needed to be more proactive with this and actually do something. And that was what was there. No criticism at all meant of the proposal and seconder. So this is what it's best to read it all. Actually, what I've ended up with. This council is dismayed by the current plans for West Midlands Railway and Great Western Railway to close all but one of the station ticket offices in Worcestershire, including the one in Droitwich Spa. We support the representations made by both Whitchaven District and Worcestershire County Council to support to both companies with regard to assuaging the effects of the changes on rail users. The staff at our ticket office do far more than just sell tickets, and the closure of the office will have a significant impact on many residents of Droitwich Spa. Elderly and disabled travellers rely on the station staff for help on and off the train and to inform the destination station of the passenger's location on the train. Without that support, the assistant would not be there to meet the passenger. Staff also inform passengers of any train delays or alterations, offer advice on tickets, and help to keep passengers safe. The closure of the ticket office would also mean the closure of the waiting area and no access to the toilets on the station. This could leave us with no facilities and no fully covered safe seating area. There will be no one to make sure the station was safe during adverse weather and help to maintain the safety of the travelling public. We note that the initial consultation period was extremely short, and even when extended, ran over the summer period and therefore outside of the town council meeting calendar. We request the consultation should be reopened to allow for a full and adequate consultation process. We also request that an equality impact assessment be carried out and information on plans for other station facilities be made available. We ask the town clerk to write to Westlands Railway and Great Western Railways, and also another organisation, to urge them to take these factors into account when considering the future use of the current ticket office premises. I hope that's agreeable to everybody. I think that was a very fair way of putting it, and thank you again for raising it. And I propose the motion.
I'll second that.
Oh, sorry. You were
Yes, I fully endorse what's been said this evening. I certainly have been involved in the campaign with 38 degrees. They're not a riot squad at all. And also, I've spoken to a few people, and one very interesting thing came up about Droitwich's Spa railway station's ticket machine is an individual that I know of was taking a trip to Scotland. And he tried to book it on the machine and found it was impossible. He went into the ticket office and the ticket office clerk arranged his trip very, very quickly, saved him a lot of money on what he was expecting from having gone into the internet. And that was something which we're going to miss. These clerks actually, if they're any good, and the one we had is very good, or was, depending if she's still there. And I think we have every right to campaign to keep the station ticket office open. So I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchins. I think that's very valuable and valid views. Thank you very much for those.
Just all in favour.
And all in favour, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, moving on to number 18, county council matters.
There's two updates, one from Councillor Brooks and one from Councillor Ellis. You have Councillor Morris's reported and out. You want to give it to what?
You don't. I'll send you a copy.
Thank you.
As written. That's a good job. It's for.
Well, that's not really bad. Just mentioned the highlight for me is actually giving the awards to the children for the reading scheme that Elijah's been running in the school holidays. That's a very worthwhile scheme.
We did very well, Councillor Brooks. might say so.
And you did very well.
Well, the granddad who was there, I thought we were very impressive. And I wasn't there as deputy mayor, I was there as a granddad. So.
I was there as a granddad as well. I have to be fair in, but it's a great scheme. A lot of things have been going on, but
The other granddad was having a flu vaccine.
Councillor Humphries. Can I just remind my fellow councillors that realistically, if I'm going to be reading updates, etc., they need to be sent to me electronically. I can't read quickly enough to read that information at a meeting. So I know sometimes papers are produced at quite short notice, but if that could be sent to me at my email address, even in the meeting, I'll be able to access it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll be noted for you. Thank you, Kira.
So yeah, just a view from myself. So last week at county we had Corporate Strategy Week, and there are no doubt you'll be made aware, but there are some financial challenges from demand-led services such as children and adult services. And I don't know whether you're all aware, but over 70% of the budget of the county goes to those two areas: children's service and adult services. I was able to ensure that Westlands roundabout crossing was included in Corporate Strategy Week. It wasn't until I mentioned it. It's not just about the crossing as well, it's also access to Berry Hill to try and get easier access to jobs for the Westlands estate. So it's kind of two-pronged in that sense. And I also tabled the continuing issues at Copkirk, the 838 Copkirk. That will not be quickly resolved, as we know it's taken some journey as it is. But what we are starting to do is to look at the plans for a future development of that area, because as more housing happens and more people get back to the car, it's just going to get worse. So we need to have a plan for the future. So that is being worked on. Secondly, Public Health have awarded over £90,000 to Westlands to support the Wellbeing Hub and the sustainability of the Wellbeing Hub on Westlands. The Wellbeing Hub is a superb project. It's in the old caretaker caretaker's bungalow on Westlands, born out of Westlands First School, where they could see coming out of COVID that the issues that they previously had were really amplified by the situation of the pandemic. So they needed to put a provision in place to try and support the mental health issues and give good counselling. All the 90,000 isn't going to the community hub. A good amount of that money is going to community projects that support the well-being of the community as well. And we are updating all of that. We have the key section tomorrow at the Health and Wellbeing Board to update on Westlands and the support for Westlands. Canal bridges, sorry, this wasn't on my list because I only got the email this afternoon, but I will pass it around. You may know that I've been talking about new canal bridges on Chawson Valley and King George for some time, and it's kind of gone back. Well, we now have the bridges, they're in storage and will be placed in January 2024, I am told. I just have to put a caveat, I am told. And that's the description, so there's a few copies there for people that want them. Different design of bridges, but it will take out some of the gradings that's there now to help with crossing for pedestrians and cyclists. Update on divisional funds. I did say last time that I was supporting Droitwich Spa Disability Football Team, £580. Friends of Droitwich Spa Railway Station for a Rosie Philpott map of the town for £500. I've also supported Saltfest with £1,000. Chawson Valley Community Association with £2,000 towards a new carpet. Moonstone Support Services to support the friendly services for £500. And Droitwich Spa Civic Society to support the John Hennings events coming up in November. My final one isn't a county one, but we've set up, with the help of David, a new central residence association, central area residence association. And at the first meeting we held, the kick-off meeting, there were a number of residents that had issues with platform housing. So in order that we could move on with the business, I stupidly promised I'd set a meeting up about platform housing. Well, platform have agreed to that, so that will be happening at St Nicholas Church on the 5th of October. So I have told platform that I will be publicising that meeting so that anybody in Droitwich who has an issue with platform or complaints with the platform can come along and ask questions. So it's 6:30 till 8 o'clock on the 5th of October at St Nicholas Church. So that will be a platform meeting. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions then?
Would you like all of us to try and publicise that?
You can do, yeah. For sure that will help. But the issues that we had at the Central Residents Association meeting were mainly about assisted living. But I've told them that I will be publicising it and other questions may come up. So that I think I've got 2-3 people coming along to answer questions. As a platform style, I'm going to do a PowerPoint presentation first.
Councillor Brooks,
Could I
please.
just show you, Mayor, could I just ask Councillor Morrison, could you just circulate the details of the meeting? Because I'm always worried I get the wrong date then.
Yeah.
Publicising.
I'm drawn up the kind of poster, but it's my kind of poster, but I'll send it to them class.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Duffy, please.
Thank you. Just wanted to thank you on behalf of residents around the Westlands and well, throughout the town who are all benefiting from the wellbeing hub. I think it makes such an important impact on those in our community who need some of the most personal interventions.
Yeah, down to Philip and the team. Yeah.
Thank you. Any more
No.
discussions on that? No? Yeah, okay. Okay, so number 20 then, please, account for payments. Oh, sorry, 19, sorry. Everybody was that.
Thank you. I hope you'll all forgive me getting my report in even later. Val, I've emailed you across a copy. Starting with a couple of shorter updates on ongoing Witchaven activity. The South Worcestershire Development Plan Review work on the SWDPR is ongoing, with a new and hopefully final timeline for its delivery to be voted on at the next district council meeting. I believe this vote will include a vote to take it to the independent examiner with all the results from the public consultation, which involved Witchaven officers replying to all resident responses. As well as this, I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that Witchaven councillors met and officers met with the developer of the Raven, in which the developer reaffirmed their dedication to delivering the plans for the sites, promising further securities to the sites, such as increased surveillance, improved fencing, as well as assurances that activity would start on site soon, and had promised us a public statement to reassure residents and make sure the town sees their dedication to it. As well as this, in more specific updates that may be of value to residents and businesses in the town, I actually think Councillor Simply still hoping to give a update from the place board. Do you want me to leave the business front improvement scheme for you? So on top of this, corporate parenting in Worcestershire, although the county council is directly responsible for looked after children, Witchaven are an active part of the Worcestershire Corporate Parenting Board. Corporate parenting is the term used when the council takes on the role of parent for children who need to be taken into care. The board acts as a voice for children in care or leaving care and works to make sure the right decisions are made. Witchaven is committed to supporting children in care and leaving care, so are signed up to the corporate parenting principles, which are attached. And finally, new and extended youth provision in Witchaven. So the district council is supporting a range of youth organisations through funding from the county council public health. The funding, which runs for 5 years, has been allocated to youth providers working in the towns and rural areas of the district. With Droitwich is going to the Droitwich Action for Future Youth for Droitwich. Sorry, the Droitwich Action for Future Youth. I think there's a bit of a repeat on there, shortened to DAFI, that many of you may know. And the funding will provide a range of both centre-based, detached, targeted and one-to-one rural provisions to support the social and emotional well-being of young people. So if anyone wants more information on this or wants to feed into this, they can contact Robin Mace at witchaven.gov.uk.
Sorry, Councillor Morris, please.
Thank you. I'd just like to say on corporate parenting, what we really need in Worcestershire, like I guess the country as a whole, is more foster parents. Fostering is a critical area in supporting looked after children. We want to get children into family homes. That is where they're best supported and where we can give them the best outcomes in life. So we need more foster parents to come forward. Adoption as well, but mainly foster parents. If you have any contacts, please come forward.
Thank you, Councillor Morris.
Details on
And
this.
Councillor
Councillor Simpson, just wants to put that in place for.
Councillor Stinton.
Yes, it's talk about the place board. Interestingly, having had the sods, I probably should have declared interest actually on that. After being on the place board, and obviously they were referring to it. Unfortunately, the last meeting I wasn't able to be here. I was in Northumberland. We have a meeting on Thursday at which the 3 projects or 3 options for the Lido project, which the place board is very involved with, are going to be put forward. They're very exciting projects, and presumably at the next meeting I'll be in a position to report which one we decide upon. It's obviously something which is of great concern and obviously a great interest for the people from SOTS. I see on here that Councillor Duffy's talked about the business front improvement scheme, which obviously is to do with the town centre, and giving these grants so to improve the appearance of the town centre. Now, apparently, this has caused quite a stir, which I'm going to report back to Richard actually on Thursday, because there are some places, some shops in near the town centre, which aren't actually able to get this, and are quite upset about it. We've got to look at it quite carefully. And I noticed on spotted Droitwich tonight, there was another shop saying, or a gym that couldn't get it. So I think we've got to look at it actually very carefully. I think that the aim is great. I think the idea is that we actually improve what the town centre looks like. But like many schemes, we've got to look at it very carefully. But I hope it will succeed, and hopefully we'll sort out some of these problems. And I thank the mayor for pointing one of them out to me earlier on, which I will mention on Thursday when we have a meeting. But I hope they'll report back at the next meeting about future events and what we're up to with the place board. Exciting things actually happening, hopefully, and we've got a good group there. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Sinton. Yeah, item 20. Councillor Collins.
Quite a few listed, I think there's 3 pages of remittances listed, and there are 2 supplementaries. The 2 supplementaries are the annual audit, it's just a standard fee, £1,638. Unfortunately, we got that through on Thursday, otherwise I could have included it on the agenda this evening. So the report, which is 0 findings and fully satisfactory, and pleased to say, will be in December, but the invoice is included with the remittances. And then the other one is the circus performers, £540 for the Merrill weekend in Lido Park, which is actually cost neutral because it's funded by the lottery. So if everybody's happy, or if there's any questions, happy to take those and those payments.
Are we looking for a proposal?
Please.
And second, please.
Thank you. And then,
And all in favour.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
So that concludes the items for this evening. Yoo-hoo!
It's a nice one, I get no press here. Actually discussed them very